Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In tonight's video, I'm going to be partly reviewing the new Sons of Liberty Gunworks anodized receiver set. You can get it obviously here in green, and you can also get it in flat dark earth. But I'm mostly going to be going over my latest build here. Just kind of bottom line up front, I'm going to talk about the receiver set because these are a little bit newer to the market. Nothing really a whole lot to talk about them. Obviously, I went over the Forward Control Design / Sons of Liberty Gunworks lower receiver, the LRF, in one of my previous videos, and the Sons of Liberty Gunworks forged receiver. Both of these have been out for a long time. What's different about these again is that they are anodized and they are not just simply Cerakoted. I had wanted to get my hands on one of these as soon as I saw it posted on their Instagram page. I did always want to do a more green build than what I did with my SPR. So when I saw these advertised on Sons of Liberty Gunworks and also Forward Control Designs Instagram pages, I had to grab it. The sets together, I believe, are $450. I don't have comparisons to what they would cost if you were to buy just the standard black anodized lower and forged upper. But that's how much they cost, and kind of again, bottom line up front, what is good and what is bad about these. So what's good is that both receivers, upper and lower, are pretty much well known to be very good receivers. Within spec, within tolerance, not have any issues with them whatsoever. Continues to be the case here. Anodizing, as you can see, is very good on it, very even across the entire receivers, both of them, no lighter or darker spots whatsoever. I will say that when you go to the website, you have to check a box acknowledging that these anodized receiver will have a looser fit than black anodized. So that's kind of, again, or I'll say that as far as getting onto the bad parts, because again, I'm not going to dive too much into the good because it's already been pretty much well established. They are looser fit. I don't know exactly why that is. Maybe it's just not as thick as the black or whatever it may be. But I can tell you from an upper and lower fit, that's pretty loose. Definitely the loosest that receiver set that I've ever had. It's kind of, I'm kind of conflicted on this because I've seen videos where Sons of Liberty Gunworks posted that their receiver sets are some of the tightest that you can get. In fact, it's almost interference fit. And they talk about how having a loose and wobbly fit is kind of BS, and that you shouldn't accept that. But then we kind of have this. But I think anybody who knows about AR-15s know that's it's not really an issue. It doesn't affect the function of the gun whatsoever. And if anything, it may be just a little bit annoying, but you don't even notice it that when you're shooting it whatsoever. So I found that based on that previous video I've seen, I found that a little bit ironic. And then I'm talking about the part that may be a little bit more concerning to some people. I mean, it is concerning to myself. I think I have a pretty easy fix to it. But besides having the looser fit here, and also the LRF, some receiver sets out there, lowers, have the tension screw underneath the pistol grip that you can tighten to give you a better fit. The LRF does not have that. So, there's various fixes that you can do to fix sloppy receiver fits. You can get the AccuWedge, which it's been out there forever. It's basically a little plug that fits underneath here, and you can trim it to make it a little looser if it's super tight. Some people stick earplugs down in there. I've seen also where some people will take some O-rings, specific size O-ring, and they will put it around this rear lug right here. So when they shut it, it is nice and tight. I know some people can also, they'll shim the receiver so there isn't any slop. I've never tried those myself because, I've never really had the receiver set loose enough that it bothered me. And again, this doesn't really bother me terribly. I don't plan to do anything about it. But there's also pins, and I can't remember who makes them off the top of my head. I did look into it a little bit. There's specific pins that are made. Takedown pins, pivot pins, they can help with that. But again, I'm not really worried about that. But one thing that I did notice as I was putting this thing together, one of the, at least in the sequence that I build in AR, when I was putting down in the, this is about the second thing I did, put in the magazine release first, and then I put in the bolt catch. And I did notice, the roll pin, when you install these, anybody's built an AR, you got to give them a decent tap to drive them in. I did notice that this went in a bit easier than what I have seen in other receivers that I've either built up or changed out the bolt catch on, and that kind of caught my attention a little bit. The forward assist was one of the last things that I installed, and this is the part I said that's a little bit concerning. So again, typically anybody who's installed a roll pin knows that they are tension fit, and that you do got to use a little bit of tapping pressure to go ahead and get them in there. I noticed that the forward assist, when I put in the roll pin, if you can see it here, you can see like that. I just pushed it right out, and with finger pressure, I can push it right back in. So today was actually the first day that I took it out shooting to take it for a test run, and I noticed. I think I put probably, I don't know, 60, 80 rounds through it. And when I got home and I took it out of the case, I noticed that the roll pin was hanging out the bottom by, I don't know, a quarter inch or so. So that's going to be a problem. I think I have an easy fix for it. I'll probably just take a little bit of RTV. As you know, the roll pins that they have on ARs, there is a bit of a, they don't stick all the way flush. Sorry, bump the camera. They don't sit all the way flush with the end of the top and the bottom of the forward assist plug here. So I'll probably just put a little dab on there and rub it down smooth. Some people, that may be unacceptable to them. They may feel that that's completely bobo and that's not something that they want to deal with. So I don't know. Sample size of one. I don't know if it's just my receiver or if that's how all of them are. I'm going to assume that based on the statement on Sons of Liberty Gunworks website, along with the loose fit and then how it fit over here, that the green anodizing, it just does not go on quite as thick, and that's going to be a thing. Kind of a little bit stunned that Sons of Liberty Gunworks would kind of release a receiver that has that issue. So again, that's going to be my fix. Just take a little bit of RTV. It's not like this is there's a lot of pressure put on this roll pin. So just putting that little dab there and rubbing it and smoothing it flush with the boss here for the forward assist, that should fix that problem. So for any of you out there that are currently eyeballing this receiver, or I haven't seen anything on the internet, any of the forums about it yet. If anybody else complaining about that, but just know that's could potentially be an issue. And for anybody else who currently owns one of these receiver sets and is wondering and has the same issues that I'm having, hey, it's happening to me too. So, or maybe it's just me and my receiver set. But again, for me personally, the wobble doesn't bother me. When I was out there shooting it today, didn't even notice it. The roll pin issue, again, that'll be a quick and easy fix. And again, I know that a lot of people are going to say that that's absolute BS and it shouldn't be like that, but it be what it be. Definitely love these LRF loader receivers. Forged upper is a forged upper, and again, getting the match screen anodized on there. As nice of a finish that it is, I'll live with it. I'm not even gonna. I could contact Sons of Liberty Gunworks and maybe complain about it, and I don't know. They could either tell me, "Hey, that's just the way it is," or they say, "Hey, maybe that's a problem. Let's send you a new upper." But I've already got it assembled. I don't really feel it's that big of a deal. I do also know, just touching base a little bit on the fixes, short of the takedown pins, the larger diameter takedown pins, you can get any of those issues, or I'm sorry, for solutions for fitting the floppy receiver. I have heard, of course, I don't know for sure, but I have heard that those can cause issues because it basically puts upward tension on your receiver and throws it out of alignment with your buffer tube. So that's not something that I really want to risk or care about. Again, the little bit of rattling there doesn't bother me whatsoever. So it is what it is for me. All right, so now that we're past that, now moving on to the build itself, give you a full view of it. I'm going to talk about this in depth, but just to kind of give you an overall look right up front. There she is. So, purpose of the build. This is a 16-inch build. I did end up selling off my IWI Zion 15 that I've had in other videos, along with my 13.9 Ballistic Advantage. After I built my 14.5 LMT, I didn't really see a need for that. And, the Zion, great rifle, definitely a good rifle. I just didn't really shoot it that much. And it didn't really feel for being like a patrol type rifle. I don't know. I didn't really feel the need for it with my 14.5. But one of the things that I did want to build was something more of like a general purpose rifle. I know some people call them recce rifles. I have my 18 that is more of an SPR. Like I mentioned, it was inspired by a Mark 12, and that thing is definitely a heavy pig. Plus, it's got a stainless steel barrel, and stainless steel. You don't want to go out and do mag dumps with it. You can wear them out. You can compromise them a bit if you are just really blasting on them. So I did always kind of in the back of my mind know that I wanted to do more of like a 16-inch SPR. So, I'm sorry, GPR. So in my mind, what is a GPR? GPR, or at least for the role that I wanted it to be, is going to be partly patrol, partly precision. So definitely something that you could carry on you comfortably. Um, the SPR that I have, at least anyway, it's pretty chunky. It's about, I think, 12.2 pounds, 12 pounds 2 ounces. It's heavy. It's definitely thick. So when I bought this receiver set, I said, okay, so there's the opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and do this 16. Typically you start with a barrel and then a bolt carrier group, but mainly a barrel for the purpose of the gun that you want it to be. And when I first actually got this, I quick purchased the Centurion's Recce barrel. It's a 16-inch mid-length gas, but it's stainless steel, and it's going to have the same kind of issues. Like if I'm going to get that, I would end up basically just replicating my 18-inch SPR with just a 2-inch shorter barrel. So I canceled that order out and I started exploring some of the options. My first choice that I wanted to go with was with a 16-inch Criterion core. I love my 12.5 that I have. They are great barrels. But they are out of stock everywhere. Couldn't find one. Couldn't even find one on the Equipment Exchange in ARFCOM. Was also looking at the Centurion midweight. They did not have it. Didn't have any in stock, and Centurion told me they didn't even have a date of when they were going to get re-upped on that. So looking around a little bit more, I did end up going with the Noveske N4 Lite. Everybody knows Noveske makes really good stuff. The N4 Lights have known to be some pretty great barrels, and even though it's titled light, that does not mean lightweight. It's a little bit deceiving in that it is almost kind of like a midweight barrel. So I figured that would exactly fit the role of what I wanted for this, something that wasn't going to be too heavy, and then also not made of stainless, so it could withstand some blasting, but definitely still hold a little bit of accuracy. So again, the Noveske N4 Lite is what I ended up going with. And it is a mid-length gas barrel, and what's kind of cool is when you buy it is it also comes with a Noveske low profile gas block that is pre-pinned. So when you get it, the pin isn't installed in it, so once you slide on the gas block and slid on nice and easy, wasn't a really tight interference fit like my Badger Ordnance TDX going on my 12.5 Criterion core, where I had to lightly beat it on with a mallet to get it to fit, but slid on pretty decently. You go ahead and pinned it. It does also have 2 set screws on the bottom, or maybe it's just one. It is just the one. So lock those both in, and it also comes with a gas tube. So definitely very happy with that choice. Going on to the bolt carrier group. Bolt carrier group is the Evolve Weapon Systems hard chrome. If anybody who hasn't heard about Evolve Weapon System, they've been around for a couple of years now, maybe even longer than that, and they are very quickly becoming known to be some of the go-to rifles that you can buy, like their entire rifles. So I actually came across this one by accident. It was on Rooftop Defense. If it's kind of weird, if you go on Evolve Weapon Systems website and you look at their parts, they do not offer a chrome BCG. But when I Googled chrome BCGs, it brought me to Rooftop's website and brought up this EWS bolt carrier group. And one of the things that's kind of cool about it, and this is going to be a little bit dirty since I did take it out shooting today. A lot of the original M16s did have a chrome carrier group. Besides having a cool finish on it and being a little bit easier to wipe off, they do a phosphate carrier key and a phosphate extractor. And to be honest with you, I don't really know why that's the better option to go with. I know Sons of Liberty Gunworks, their chrome BCG is completely chrome. But allegedly, and again, maybe some of you are smarter out there that know why it's better having a phosphate carrier and extractor. I think I can understand the extractor part of it, because you don't want something slippery like chrome potentially losing its grip onto your spent casings as it's trying to rip it out of the chamber. But Yeah, maybe one of you guys out there who know a little bit better can answer that for me down in the comments. So that's the BCG that I went with. Again, you know, BCGs in my mind, and many people's minds, is the second most important thing. Some people might even say the first thing, since it is the heartbeat of the rifle. Any type of malfunctions that you typically see, the majority of them revolve around the BCG. So very solid BCG. And then I knew that everything else that I was going to do on this, for the majority of it, was going to be for controls design. So going up a little bit further, or going back up further, you're going to see that I do have the a 15-inch forward controls design RHF. I do already have the 11.5 on my 12.5-inch build. I was almost very tempted to go with the Geisley, whether it be the Mark 8 or the Mark 16, because the anodizing is more similar matching to this, and this is not anodized, this is Cerakoted. I don't know how well it looks in the video, but this is their version of Cerakoted ODG, forward controls design, that is. Really, to me, when you look at it, it looks a little bit more brown than it does ODG. And actually, when I first got it, I did think about returning it, but then once I started piecing it together, I did really like the way that it looked. Also, along with that, I did go with the forward controls design RE5F. I can't remember. It's basically their version of the A5. So you got the longer tube on there, and again, the Cerakote, the same color ODG, but really looking a little bit more like brown. Of course, I always use the forward controls design CNF. I think the longer one here that's made for A5 systems is the CNF5 or something like that. Also went with forward control design QDM plate. I'm not really a big fan of their big one that's got the 3-point on each side. I like it a little bit more low profile, so went with that for the end plate on there. Went with their reinforced buffer retaining pin. And then for the spring inside, I went with a spring coat green. And then for a buffer, I had a leftover BCM T1 buffer that I had from my 18-inch SPR. I had both a T1 and a T2, and I ended up using the T2 in my 18-inch. And since I already had the T1 sitting around in a bin, basically collecting dust, I figured I'd go ahead and try it out in this one and see how it ran the first time I shot it. And if I needed a heavier buffer, I would. Moving on to the receiver small parts. You see here, I got the forward controls design. Oh, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So going into, once I had the contrast between the green anodized and the ODG forward controls design version of ODG, I thought, you know what, it might look pretty cool instead of just doing all green, especially since this doesn't really look super green, is I do some highlights with the smaller parts to grip and maybe the buttstock, doing those like a lighter FDE. Haven't done a lighter FDE on my other builds. I typically use Coyote Brown. When I chose the buttstock, I originally chose the Voltor iMod. Once I got that in and I put it on a tube, it just looked really small on this gun. So I ended up ordering the E-Mod, and I took the iMod and put it on my Mark 18. Took the B5 SOP mod off there just to see how it would look, the Coyote Brown SOP mod, and I really liked it. So for right now, that's what I'm going to rock. But for this gun, went with the E-Mod. Probably definitely a better fit, not just because the E-Mod really is the better fit for the A5 system. You know, when you have a longer A5 tube, you can't shut your receiver all the way down to the castle nut when you have a standard carbine tube. So again, I mean, that may not be a big deal to some people, but you know, they have this extra pad back here, so when you're taking a precision aim shot, you know, you have your support arm, or you can reach back with your support hand and kind of use it to hold on to. So that's the decision I made in the color scheme. Having the green, having the darker ODG, and then going around and adding some lighter FDE parts. So again, talked about the E-Mod. Always definitely a big fan of the B5's P22. Put those on almost everything. So when I went with the charging handle, I was originally going to go with the forward controls design one. I'm sorry, the green forward controls design charging handle, which like I have on my 18-inch SPR, but I thought it would be a pretty cool contrast if I went with the flat dark earth, and I really like the way that looks. Going to the smaller controls, such as the Q safety by forward controls design with the magazine release, and also the bolt catch and the ambidextrous magazine here, or magazine release, all flat dark earth. Really like, again, like the way that that looks. Typically, so this is the ambi bolt release, and the way that you get it from Sons of Liberty Gunworks or Forward Control Design, it's just black. So I just took this before I installed it, and I sprayed it with a little bit of flat dark earth rattle can. It looks pretty good to me. It's not the same tone here, but not really a big deal. For the dust cover, got the double dimple green anodized. Unfortunately, when I looked on Forward Control's website, they actually had these in stock, so I picked one up for this, along with one for my 18-inch SPR where I only had the single dimple on there. Trigger-wise, typically with my guns that I want to be a little bit more precision with, I like SSPs or single stage for blasters, and I definitely like two-stage for something more precision. So I was running the SSAE, or am running the SSAE in my 18-inch. Had the SSAE in my Zion 15. And when I sold that, I took some of the parts off of it and sold it. That was obviously before I decided to build this one up. So I was kind of kicking myself for that, but I figured this would be an opportunity because I do like these straight triggers, to try out the SDE. So anybody who doesn't know, the SDE is just a straight bow version of the SSAE. Oh, and by the way, Facebook police, this is magazine's empty, chamber's empty, so this is the safe gun. Definitely love the OK sure feeds. Love the anodized color on that. A little bit more flat dark earth with the True North hand stop. Typically run vertical foregrips, even though I do have more of an overhand C clamp grip. And even VFGs just end up turning into basically a hand stop. Do really like it. I've seen pictures of these, so wanted to go with the True North. They make different versions of them, smaller versions, aluminum versions, plastic versions. So this is the aluminum version. This is the standard length one. I really like the way that it feels. Really, really good. Going for a weapon light, initially I was going to go with another Cloud Defensive Rain 3 with their legacy body, similar to what I have on my, which gun do I have that on now? I have that, oh, I'm sorry, my LMT 14.5 inch. Because I did want to run the possibility of running a Unity hot button on this. But what ended up happening was my brother-in-law asked me to order a light for his gun, along with an optic. I ordered a black one for his gun. They accidentally sent me a flat dark earth one. So contacted the company that I bought it from, told them about the mistake. They told me, hey, send it back. We'll send a new one out immediately. Here's prepaid shipping. And I said, well, how about instead of that, how about you just give me a bigger discount, or give me a discount off of, I'll order another one. I'll order a black one. I'll keep this flat dark earth one. And they did. They gave me a 25% off, and that was at Midwest Optic. So definitely appreciated that. Didn't end up, going that route. I wasn't able to go with a Unity hot button, but that's okay because I've never really had a problem with Cloud Defense's switches. You see here for cable management, I am using the Arson Machine Picatinny mount. I know some people say, hey, don't you know that the LCS has built-in cable management? And you're very well aware of that. But where I have my light positioned and where I have my pressure switch and exactly how I wanted it, it is just too far away to pull in any more of this cable, and I've tried it every single way. So this is the best that I could do on that. So I definitely need to order the Arson machines. First time I've used these. I did try buying some Bobo ones from Amazon, made by some Chinese company that were plastic. Did not fit, so I ended up returning those. So I went ahead and ordered these. $15 a piece may seem a bit pricey to some, and I guess it is for what it is, but they're definitely super solid. And these are I'm not sure if they're anodized or if they're Cerakoted, but fit very well, do the job. For the mount, I did go with the Cloud Defense Torrent mount. Typically, I like to use the Arasakas, but Midwest Optics, they did not have the flat dark earth one available, so I just went ahead and went with the Torrent. I got to say, I'm not really the biggest fan of this thing. On one hand, they offer multiple screw mounting options or light mounting options, so you can mount it a little bit lower, a little bit higher in the mount, and I guess that's great and all, but what it does is that there's a lot of material that's shown as left behind. I don't know, it looks a little bit clunky to me, but it is what it is. I ordered it because I was getting a discount on it, and it's just a light mount, and it is still a solid mount. Of course, for a muzzle device, since I have the Huxworks can, I went with the Huxworks flash hider. This is one I actually pulled off my Zion 15. The guy didn't need it. He's not running a Huxworks can. So I was able to recycle this one. Definitely knew I wanted to order a bipod for this. Was thinking about going with the MDT. I don't know if anybody has heard about those out there. And the only reason I was looking to go that route is because they have some green anodized on it. I figured it looked kind of cool. But at the end of the day, I wasn't certain on them. There's not a ton of information out there on them. They go for about $200, but I wanted to go ahead and go with the Atlas bipod, something that's definitely tried and true. I went with the same V8 model that I had before, but one thing that was important to me is that I didn't always want to have the bipod attached. So on my 18-inch, I just got the simple Picatinny attachment. So you got two screws. I mean, you're going to need tools to take it off. So definitely wanted to go with a QD mount on this one. I do want to say I think they offer one that has a LaRue mount, and they offer one with the ADM. So I got the one with the ADM. It is a little bit cheaper, so it comes off very quickly. I don't have to rely on tools. As far as the Picatinny section, you see here, just used a 3-slot. That's the minimum you can use to mount a bipod. Some people use five slots, but when you do, it hangs out from the backside of the front and the back of the Picatinny. And I thought it looked a little bit clunky, and it really wasn't the biggest fan of that. So again, went with the 3-slot here. And as you can see, when you go with 3-slot, there is nothing. The rail doesn't protrude from the sides, and it's recessed just a little bit. But I think most importantly, it does give you enough real estate to securely clamp on your bipod. And also the Arisaka, if you'll see here, this is the Arisaka low profile mount. And I want to say that I have talked about these before in other videos, but for anybody who doesn't know, Arisaka does have a lower profile mounts, Picatinny sections that you can get. So you can pull your accessories in a little bit closer. And you can see how clean that looks, where there's barely any rail section that you can see sticking out from the base at all. When you use standard Picatinny sections, it's pretty chunky. So went with that mount from the bipod. Definitely very happy with that. Of course, running the 100 Concepts light cap along with the shot collar to give it a cleaner look. I apologize for the snivels, people. I have a little bit of allergies going on at the moment. All right, now moving on to the Optic. So, in my opinion, and from my understanding, when you buy something that's going to be a bit, whatever you're buying, you typically think of the purpose that you're going to use the gun for, and then you match the optic to it. So, as I mentioned, with this build, I wanted to be more of a general purpose, half patrol, half kind of, or half patrol, half running gun, and half precision on it. So, I definitely knew I was going to go with a magnified optic. My initial choice that I had for this gun was going to be the Leupold Mark V HD 2-10 by 30, I believe it is. Just came out earlier this year. A lot of people have been raving about it. Um, it's definitely seems to be a solid option. First focal plane. It's very solid scope. Again, I'm not going to get terribly in the comparison of the scopes because I am going to make another video comparing MPVOs versus LPVOs and my thoughts and opinions on them. But going back to the Leupold, very, very pricey scope. I want to say they're about $2,000, and that's for a non-illuminated reticle. If you want the illuminated reticle, it adds another $500. You're talking about $2,500. Now, on the used market, on ARFCOM's EE, I did come across some that were quite a bit cheaper than that. And then I was wondering, it's like, how important is having an illuminated reticle? And again, I'm going to go deeper into a follow-up video. But for this one, I decided that I definitely did want an illuminated reticle. One of the other things that, next thing to consider was first focal plane versus second focal plane. Me, I'm not a precision shooter. I'm not a super long range shooter. After doing some homework, decided that I could go ahead and sacrifice the first focal plane. Most of the time, the general feeling is you're either at the lowest power or the highest power, nowhere in between. So, a lot of guys will say, well, I don't need the first focal plane. Take some price out, also take some weight out. I don't know why first focal plane scopes way more than second focal plane, but definitely wanted something that was going to be an MPVO going with a 2 to 10. Running a 2 to 15 on my SPR. I don't know if that would qualify as an MPVO, but it's definitely a lot bigger than the what I ended up going with. And one of the things that a lot of people say is forget an MPVO or forget an LPVO, go with an MPVO, and then run an offset dot or a top mounted dot. You get a little bit more features with it. You get parallax adjustment. You get a better sight picture due to the larger glass on it. This one here is the Night Force NXS 2.5 by 10 by 42. It was not, I want to say it was a hard choice. I just, I was looking at the Trigicon Credo 2 to 10 by 36, I believe it is, and then also the Vortex Viper PST 2 to 10 by maybe a 36. And the Viper's got it actually has a first focal plane on it. It's quite a bit of a heavier scope. So Wayne, once I factored out the loophole, it was really between the Credo, the Viper, and then the Night Force. So never owned a Night Force scope before. This is obviously a very nice build, so I wanted to get something that was a little bit suited for it, but I also want to get quality glass. It's not you don't have to have a super expensive scope on an expensive build. It's whatever you feel is going to suit your purpose. But having illuminated reticle, having parallax adjustment on it, of course it's a Night Force, so it's got really good glass. So they're going to be built like a tank. Already has a built-in throw lever. I know that's minor, but you go buy a Vortex, whether that be the Razor or the PST, then you're going to spend another $60 on a freaking throw lever. So there's just kind of an added bonus there. Of course, Night Force has their zero stop system on there. It's known to be real good. So that was ultimately what I chose to go on this gun. So far, I've been very happy on it. Reticle you can choose between red or green on it. On the same scope, so that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm not really a fan of green reticles, but hey, more options are great. Then I went to choosing a mount on it. So I knew I definitely wanted to go top mount on this. I wanted to do that on my 18-inch SPR, but the Credo HX's turrets are so freaking tall that it's just not an option because it completely blocks it. So wanted something that was going to be kind of like a system and not have to add on with a separate ring. I feel that it's definitely more stable when it's actually built into the cap or the mount itself. So I went with the Badger Ordnance. That was my next question I had. Once I knew I was getting the Badger, do I want 1.54? Do I want 1.7? Do I want 1.93? Definitely knew 193 is off the bat right away. Have that on my 12 and a half. Try doing a top mount. It is just so freaking tall that, you can't, it's not even chin weld. Chin can't even touch. So it's going to be too tall. So it was really down to a question of 154 or 170. So I asked around a bit on the internet, some of the forums, and people came in and said, when you want precision, you definitely want it to be lower. And then somebody specifically happened to comment, yeah, I got a 1.7 and it's like my chin barely even touches. I really wish I would have went with a 1.54. So that's what I ended up going with. And the Badger Ordnance, they do make this arc system here, which takes the place of the top ring, adds a little boss on the bottom of it, and then has provisions to mount the springboard here for various different optics, whether it be the Acro, the RMR/SRO, or even if you wanted to add a T2 on top of it. So I was wondering if I was going to have enough clearance to the turret on this, even though they're not super tall. But as you can see here, there is absolutely, it doesn't get in the way at all. You can see the turret just barely starts coming to the bottom of the glass, which isn't even into the sight picture. So that works out perfectly for running my Acro P2 on top of this. And with speaking of which, with the Acro P2, as you can see there, I do have the 100 Concepts hex cap on there to cut down a little bit of the glare. I am pondering getting scope caps for this. Just not sure which ones yet, the AARD mounts or the Tenebrex, or if I want to run them at all. They do come from the factory with these floppy rubber ones, but they're pretty ugly and they don't really stay put. It's not like they just hinge flat on the body of the scope. So lastly, I think the only thing that I haven't talked about on this build so far yet were the takedown pins. The takedown pins, did go with the forward controls design ones. They're extended pins. The rear one is, it's nice and almost flush with your receiver here. and then on the back side of them, they are dimpled to give you a little bit better traction for using a bullet tip to push them out, and they are slightly longer. I can't get it in the light enough for you to see, so that when you do push them out, you don't really need it so much with the LRF lower, since it is countersunk, so you can really push it out to get some good grip on there to pull the takedown pin out. But even on the pivot pin, it gives you a little bit more leverage to push and grab and pull it out without having to use a tool. So overall, that's it. That's my latest build, my 16-inch GPR rifle. You know, it hopefully, talking about some of the choices I made and the hows and the whys, some of it can help clear up any questions or answer any questions that anybody out there may be having themselves, you know, looking at a build. As usual, appreciate all the views and the feedback. Definitely good stuff. So hope this video helped out. If you like this content, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Go ahead and share the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.